Welcome to Read Your Comics, and today I'm looking at Witchman by Tom Scioli. Hey, check it out, I'm doing a modern book. You're not going to see me doing that too often, but this is one from Tom Scioli, who's known for Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. I'm a big fan of Tom's, so I had to back this Kickstarter campaign and check out his new character. But before I jump into it, let me give a quick shout out of appreciation for all the viewer support, comments, and subscriptions. If you're enjoying positive comic content, please consider hitting the thumbs up. Comments are always encouraged, and if you haven't already, why not subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos? I created this channel to entertain and inform, maybe even inspire you to read more comics. If you think that's a good message and other comic fans need that in their feeds, then your likes, shares, and subs tell the YouTube algorithm to put it in front of them. Now that we got that out of the way, let's jump back into the book. So right off the bat, when I took this out, I noticed this really heavy, glossy cardstock cover to the point where it's like so thick, it doesn't really stay shut. I mean, he shipped it in a bag, so it was kind of formed shut. But I mean, it's a heavy cover, almost like a prestige format book if it was square bound, but it's stapled. You can see the kind of a hefty price tag for one book. Kind of the nature of a self-published book, though, in this day and age. I mean, papers cost money, postage costs money, everything that goes into it. But I was happy with the package of this. I mean, he didn't just send it to some small printer to get it thrown out there. I mean, he put some thought and care into this, not only into this cover, but also into the interior pages too. They're all like a heavy matte finish, and I'm a fan of matte finish of comics. I've never really loved glossy on comics. So once again, I'm happy that there's people out there like Tom that really take every aspect of the comic making, the printing into consideration when they're putting something together like this. So, $25 again. If I was going to the comic shop and I saw a cover price of $25 for a single issue, I doubt I would purchase that. But supporting somebody in the self-publishing realm, I can do that. Tom said when he was working on the Kirby and Stan Lee books that he got a lot of inspiration when researching their creative process and all the characters that they came up with and stuff. And he wanted to think of something that he could make his own that wasn't a derivative of an existing property, but still had kind of a classic feel to it. Once I saw him even describe it as a golden age hero for a modern age. And I definitely kind of can see that vibe, although I don't think he structures the book like a golden age book at all. I love the intro page with, the different characters' names. He gives a name to everybody, even if they don't necessarily play a huge role in this story. And then the character itself's design of being a witch, but a man. So as we jump into the story, it's set in New Salem. And being a new character with a title like Witchman, you don't know if this is going to be some kind of ambiguously good character. Is he good? Is he evil? It's not quite clear in these first pages. I mean, you look at his home base, appears to be a castle on top of this. What do you even call that? It's not a mountaintop. It's just like a spire, and he's boiling like a cauldron, just like a witch would. Naturally, we're going to assume this is very like a wicked thing to do, right? And he says, I see omens full of ill fortune. It's time for action. And I'm going to notice the art style that Tom is using in this. Tom is pretty much known, I think, as a Kirby as a genre type. Most of his previous work was in that vein. I think of like his G.I. Joe, Transformers stuff, GoBots, Godland. All of that has like the Kirby look to it. And in this one, he definitely breaks away from that. But if you've looked at the Kirby Star Warriors remaster that he did, he uses a brush stroke in that he's using in here too. Also with these flat colors, although the Kirby one just used red, this one uses more, but I see a lot of the same techniques in the two books coming out relatively close together. We meet a little girl and her dog running down the street. They're being run down by this car. Some interesting design. It has a very 1930s cartoon character kind of feel to it. And she's being run down by this car that looks like a monster itself. Driven by these, looks like old Universal type monsters. And those were characters that we all got names for at the beginning. I love their facial expressions change from satisfaction with themselves. Of course, this looks like repetitive panels. I've really tried to look. Obviously, this one, I like his glasses go up so you can see his eyes. Because the car gets lifted off the ground, and you see our character Witchman, and he's pointing his magic wand towards them and taking them upside down. I love these little twirls that he does through the book. So he turns the car upside down. This panel cracks me up. It looks kind of stiff, the way that they're like jumping out of the car, feet first. You'd think when they're getting flipped over, their bodies would be all in different directions. And that's some of the Golden Age feel. When I look at Golden Age books, I think a lot of times, particularly the superhero stuff, the art looks kind of stiff. The figure work is kind of stiff sometimes. And he drops them into the river, sends them to jail. Just simple techniques of like a little justice scales there so you know where he's taking them. A lot of these like vertical panels along the side. And we get a brief origin here. We don't know his name. We don't get who he is. But there's an origin here that's explained about his father being kind of into this stuff. This sheriff guy that takes him out. And then he kind of takes over the role of the supernatural role to avenge his father. I like this. This is very Batman from the Golden Age. There is some jumping around here, and it's like he's just like doing different heroic acts, saving different people from different things. More of these vertical panels really get better looks at Witchman as we go along. And until that origin page, it was like, is that his face? The other guys get out of jail. But see, now it looks like this is on that spire thing. And this is the bad guys. And their ringleader, he's like, you were followed. No, we wasn't. You brought them to me. And you have Witchman kind of going through, creeping through. Look at that shot of the knife going towards his face. Subtle eye. Whap it away. Some really good action in this. Now I could see how this art style wouldn't be for everybody. It's definitely not traditional superhero fare for sure. And he didn't try to go direct Golden Age aping. It's the brushstroke like this. And I would say he did this all digitally, because I think he did the Stan book all digital. I think he did the Jack Kirby Star Warriors digitally. So he's got some kind of digital brush here that kind of reminds me of charcoal. So a different approach, than a traditional like pencil and ink job. A plane crashing. What a great idea. A parachute for every passenger. So all the passengers are free from the plane crashing, except hers gets caught on the wing, this blue-haired woman. And then comes Witchman to save her. I mean, he does like just good job he does just really solid plotted out action here. Him appearing. I like the lightning kind of coming around it. The different things that come out of the wand. And here's the twirl again. This is just like a subtle cartooning technique of the twirl making the figure behind it disappear to give more of the sense of motion. That shows how kind of powerful Witchman is. Here he opens like a portal and lands the plane safely out in the field. That's a pretty big power. So it turns out the blue-haired woman, she's a reporter. She's like the Lois Lane to the Witchman. They almost have a very similar little meeting here, like Lois meeting Superman on her balcony in the original Superman movie. Some pretty funny dialogue here, like, what's under your hat? My hair. Why are you dressed as a witch? Are you a super fan? No, I never liked witches. They always terrified me. And he talks about using magic and stuff. And then obviously they're building a little chemistry between them here. And she removes his mask, but suddenly there's an explosion and he has to go. Her design is so simplistic. Not a lot of detail on her body or her face and her blue hair with just like a few little whimsical lines coming off of it. So Witchman goes, and this time he kind of gets beaten. I love this panel. This is pure manga influence on that panel. But he finds a way to take this like slim figure and do stuff like this. Again, we have an interesting color choice of these characters just being white. The red background. The red is the sky. And then, of course, our Witchman in the black clothes. Of course, they're white. We'll show the red from blood of Witchman getting beaten up. Look at that one. His tooth flying out. And Witchman pretty much gets beat here. I didn't love this part just because I'm like, what did he just land in? But I think actually it makes more sense to me now because later on we'll see where it was. So here's our reporter. She's like, Witchman is missing. They're like, hey, we found him. Come with us. And then they're like, we don't have him. You're now the bait. I like this panel here too of Witchman fending off death. It's a great way to demonstrate that. And I love even this panel of these hands with the offset color. That's a choice. You know, the printing doesn't cause that this day and age. I like it because it actually creates little highlights. But you can tell he's like doing it on purpose to come off register a little bit. And it's a way of showing like the motion of his hands coming up so fast. Because he doesn't use that a whole lot. I mean, you don't see that off register look really anywhere else. So here's where I'm assuming these are garbage bags. Because it's the dump. And here he has his own little vision with his father again, saying, I failed you. And the father basically says, get up. The father's not very nice, as you can tell by looking at him. And he comes up out of the garbage to go finish the job. Flick. I mean, Tom's able to convey so much without having to like overstuff, extra panels, extra details. I mean, just, you know, here, I can look at this really without reading any of the dialogue. And I do like I do like his large lettering. My old eyes appreciate that. Here's that brushstroke again. I see that so much in that Kirby book that I've mentioned a couple times. And you see it like in the details of his costume too. Another great vertical panel where he squeezes in this thin figure into it perfectly. Witchman is like nice and like long and lanky. This is a great design stacked up here. The blast, the light from the blast obscuring the details of the face. Witchman takes a bit of damage right there though. I mean, there's like holes in his, I guess the side of his mask, his hat definitely. How does he survive all this? There's blood's dripping down his face. Anyway, he beats the bad guy. And the bad guy wants to just like fall and say, be seeing ya, I guess like haunt him later, but he stops him from doing that. Another Batman-esque homage here. Got two of those in this book. And then he renounces being Witchman. He feels like he did what he needed to do. He can't keep doing it. He's found a nice lady. We see his face, and his name is Wallace. I'm going to assume that's a nod to Wallace Wood, perhaps. I don't know if that's what Tom was thinking in that, but he says he's done with it, and he burns up his Witchman costume. And that's the end. And now we see the little girl that he saved at the beginning, and she has an idea to be Witch Girl, which I love that design too. I love the way she looks. I love how she's smiling more. And we get a rogues gallery. So this is where I'm like, was this like a one-shot? He requests letters via either email or through snail mail. So he's clearly got more plans to do more of these. I love these these villains. Like this guy's awesome, Mr. October. He's like in a hazmat suit, but it's a skull inside. And I guess it switches like Manny faces from He-Man to Jack-o'-lantern. and the vampire Mr. October, I guess Halloween costumes. And then you got Witchman of the West. He's in a white outfit. That must be like a reverse version. Look at this too, of him like running and changing. Like that's probably a Superman homage. And then we get another little, like an epilogue story here. And you see him making a new suit because he burnt up the old one. I thought you were done with this. So did I. All those things I said, they're all true, but I've got to do this, even if it doesn't make a whit of sense. And then you've got this Faustian-looking character coming at him. If you're looking for trouble, you found it. To be continued. And you've got this extremely extended ellipsis. To be continued now. And then this is pretty awesome. It was just like a fight, and it's the guy that killed his dad. So we're going to get that resolved right away. And he ends up winning, and that's it. I did it, Dad. You can rest now. And then here's Tom. Just something about him. How to reach him. And that's the book. I mean, it's pretty substantial thickness. Obviously, no ads. You got even the inside cover gives you a little something. The inside back cover gives you a little something. It's a nice package. I was really happy with this, and I do look forward to more and see where Tom goes with this. Hopefully he figures out a way to distribute this to a bigger audience. I think it only had less than 500 backers. It was a very short campaign. I think it only ran for about maybe 6 weeks. So I'm sure he had a ton of them printed up, though, that he's taken to cons and things to sell. And hopefully he finds a way to distribute this to a wider audience, because he does say he wanted to create a superhero for the ages, a new classic. So it's only going to be that if more people are able to read this. The good cartoonists are trying to make their way with their own creator, own material, and the old publishing ways are changing and dying off. If there's a creator that you know and want to support, if they do a Kickstarter, try to back it if you can, because, you know, these guys do this out of passion. They're not getting rich off of it. And the only way we can show them our support is with our dollars. So check this out if you can get your hands on one. If you didn't back the campaign, hopefully he's going to find ways to distribute more of them soon. If he does a second round for a second issue, be sure to check it out. Until next time, read your comics.